women followers on social media. And we've also just gained a lot of young people, a lot of Gen Z who maybe perceive Playboy as cool in a retro way, or beginning to see it as cool just in general. And they're beginning to come to our website and pick up magazines. So we're trying really hard to just appeal to the future audience of Playboy. And in terms of how the readership continues to shift, our legacy readers, who are people probably like your dad, older, we really want to bring them along with us and want to educate them with us and have their minds grow and expand as well.
Yeah, I'm just going to add to that a little bit too and say that when I started writing for Playboy, I noticed that when I shared that, some people were like, "What? Why?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And it was almost like, as a woman, why would you write for a magazine that exploits naked women? And in my mind, I was like, I understand where you're coming from, but they're going in a different direction. And why would I sit on the sidelines and watch it happen when I can enter the beast and be part of the change that needs to happen with this brand? So I went in and wrote and started writing pieces where I was like, I already know with the stuff I did before Playboy, I was attracting a predominantly female audience. I now have a whole new platform that was originally catered to a male audience. So now there are men reading what I'm writing, so I'm talking to the men, and I can bring conversations to the forefront that they need to be involved in because their actions and their views affect women too. So that was my way of being like, okay, let's talk about the psychology of dating. Let's talk about the fact that men hate hearing no and some of the deadly repercussions of that. Let's talk about the female perspective of things that you may not acknowledge with this content. And so it's been hugely beneficial in that way of widening the audience and being able to talk about really important shit with people who may not understand our perspective because they don't get to hear it as often. That was a great question. Right here on the left with the ivory and white.
Hi, my name is Jay, and I personally posed nude, and it hasn't come out yet. And I'm worried about how my conservative family members are going to react to that. So I really want to know from each one of you how you responded to people that tried to confine you with social standards that are fucking outdated.
Sure, I got the first steps on this. Just post it. Be proud of it. Own it. It's your life. That was your decision. That's where I went with it. My family is very conservative, and when I went that approach with it, the confident, I'm so proud of this approach, nobody bugged me because they didn't want to F with me. I don't want to cuss on here, so.
I already did that 100 times, feel free. I will say my dad's super conservative, so sharing the news with him was not pleasant. I'm Middle Eastern. My dad is super strict. And when I told him, I shared with him, I gotta tell you something, I posed for Playboy, yada yada, whatever. And at first, it was like a slow simmer of him getting angry. Because it started with him being like, well, you didn't ask me, so why are you telling me, da da da? And I'm like, I know, I don't want it to come out and you feel ambushed. I want to have this conversation with you. And then he just started getting mad, and he said something, or he was like, Bruna, you are a smart, capable woman. I don't understand why you had to pose naked. And I was like, Dad, that is exactly why I had to pose naked, because there are people who continuously think that I have to be one or the other, and I can't be all of those things at the same time. Whether he accepted and understood that is yet to be determined, but it happened anyway. And so I think for you, the best thing you can do is, you posed and you made that decision for a reason, and that reason is yours and yours alone, and no one has to understand it or validate it for it to mean something to you. So just carry that with you, and like she said, F everyone else.
And I will say that my mom started out kind of worried, and she's sitting here in the audience today, and she's very supportive. So if they love you, they'll come around and they'll support you because they love you.
It also takes practice being yourself. A lot of practice.
And sticking up for yourself. We have time for one super quick question, And,
That guy has lights on his arm.
oh, okay. Lights, camera, action.
Thank you for taking my question. I've observed that, given, like you're talking about with social media being a huge factor in how people, gain exposure, we have networks like Instagram and Tumblr that have anti-nudity policies. And I feel like what has transcended is that people that are looking to be more artistic or show themselves nude have Patreon pages or other links to other things. And it seems like by having these policies, they're artificially creating this barrier that is almost turning them into sex workers. And I wonder if you want to comment on that and how the attempt of censorship is actually driving a wedge in the industry.
That's a good question.
I said quick.
Sorry.
Just kidding. Well, all I'll say is this. When I traveled overseas, the censorship with nudity is nowhere near the way it is here. And I feel like that's what makes it so taboo. When you're in Spain or you're wherever and there's just naked people walking around the beach, you don't think about it, you don't sexualize it, it's just a way of life. But here, every little thing, God forbid a woman wears a white shirt without a bra on a cold day and you see some nipples. And it's like, oh my gosh, how dare she not wear a bra? It's such a big deal here, and I think social media, when it does that, is perpetuating that same narrative of we can't have women showing any parts of their bodies or anything that might be sexual or anything that might show some nudity because of X, Y, and Z, which only furthers that whole taboo aspect of sex in our female body, which then goes into the shame and why we keep steering away from it. So I definitely don't think it's helpful. I can understand why, some people, with children on social media, that may be something different. But there might be a middle ground there that's just not being observed or reached. But yeah, it's tough out here.
And I feel like censorship is something that we talk about a lot at Playboy. I mean, when Playboy first came out, we had to sue the Postmaster General to, even allow it to be on newsstands because it was considered obscene, like the naked female body was considered lewd and inappropriate. And it just all goes back to our puritanical roots as a country. As Bruno was mentioning, like other places are not like this, and seeing some nips is totally normalized and not really a big deal. But that's something that we faced a lot at Playboy with our post being taken down and trying to figure out the best way to. I mean, if you could have been in the room with our social media team, we figured out the best way to pixelate the nipples so that we couldn't, it wouldn't get deleted by Instagram. It's just, they're ridiculous conversations that shouldn't be happening in a modern society, so. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for coming, and I know that there are a lot of men in the audience, so I do ask that you become an ally for us and really start to navigate your life with women who may show some body, show whatever, that you approach it with compassion and don't dismiss us and minimize to sexual objects, but be an ally to us and understand that we just like to show our bodies sometimes, and that's okay. So, thank you guys.